Hey YouTube, it's Faye, and for today's video we finally got the valve covers back from powder coating. So, as promised, this is part 2 of that video. I'm going to show you how to reassemble the valve covers in preparation for installation, and then why the heck not? I'm also going to show you the final installation, and as you can see behind me, what they look like now, which is absolutely incredible. So, let's get into it. Hopping right into it, we are going to thoroughly wash these valve covers with warm water. Now that they're coated, we want to be so very careful with them, so I have them laying out on my spongy yoga mat. And whether you glass beaded these yourself or whether you had the powder coaters do all of the prep and the cleaning for you, just please be aware that they're probably never going to care about the cleanliness of the end result as much as you are, so you definitely cannot skip this step. If you look closely, you will see that there are a lot of little glass beads still embedded in the nooks and crannies of these. And let's not forget why we went through the effort of cutting out these baffles in the first place.
One piece of glass bead inside of anywhere will tear up your engine.
Yeah.
So glass beading is good, but I would rather, if you don't, just because you want to make it look pretty, forget the way it looks. I'd rather have it clean. If you have glass beads in here anywhere, your engine's junk.
I'm gonna do one final clean before I install the baffles. Oh, and before the baffles, I'm gonna install these little guys. But we're gonna put some brake clean in there, just wipe everything thoroughly and then blow it out with compressed air. We're gonna make sure that we send this thing home super, super clean. And then I'm gonna show you how to install these fittings. Spray the brake parts cleaner onto the rag first. We don't want any overspray getting onto the powder coat. I don't know what's up with powder coat these days. You used to be able to spray anything on powder coat. Now things are not the same. I don't know if powder coat has just gotten a lot cheaper or... I'm feeling super good about that. Now let's install these fittings. Cover the top with some painter's tape so you don't damage the surface. Spray a little lube in there, grab a block of wood, and smack those things in with a substantial hammer. All right, so there's one side done. And one thing I recommend actually is putting these in the freezer first. That's because these are a press fit, and here in Texas, it's over 100 degrees today, and heat equals expansion, and we don't want to make it any harder than it has to be and work with tighter than normal tolerances. Is the other side done? Now I'm prepping to reinstall my baffles, and since I'm absolutely neurotic, I'm doing a final wipe of the sealing surface for my form-in-place gasket before install, then blowing it all out with compressed air. Right now, I'm just taking one of the screws and going down into every single one of the holes, just once again verifying that there's no metal shavings or any sand or anything that got in the way that's gonna come out when I screw them in. So you can see here I've got the oil cap. So I'm starting with the one without the oil cap, and it is this one, and this is gonna go in there like so. And you can review my last video to see where all of the form-in-place gasket was, which is actually what I just did. This is where the form-in-place gasket is gonna go on this side. I have the official Toyota fippage, and then I also have my red Loctite. Shake this up. I'm gonna put a little bit of red Loctite into each one of these holes. So now with my form-in-place gasket, we are gonna give a nice thin little bead where we saw it in the first place, right? So just replacing what we took back off. Put this in there. Now I'm installing these stainless steel screws with a stainless steel washer. The baffle is a little bit warm from when I pried it out, so I'm loosely installing each screw first. Then once they're threaded in, I'm going back in and tightening them fully. Now try to install these within 5 minutes of installing the form-in-place gasket if you can. Haha, one down. Switch them up. I'll start out with a little oil baffle there. Now I mentioned in the last video that I would have to either order or make the right size screws for the little oil fill baffle because this is a shallower depth. So I'm just taking these screws over to the grinder and making them the perfect length and adding in a little bit of a taper. So here's the original screw of that length from this Amazon kit. And there is the modified screw to fit here for the oil fill baffle area. Because obviously you see how the depth is so much shallower than these. One little teeny dollop in each one. Let's grab my little shorties. Nice and tight. Heck yeah! Oh, that's looking awesome. Just gonna make sure this is also clean. Obviously that side, but this side. Yeah, that's looking awesome. With all this practice, I bet I would be an amazing cake decorator. All right, let's get this Now one little dab will do it in each one of these holes. It's a little bit deformed, so I'm gonna start with my screws in the middle. Secure those down first, and then I'll do those ones at the end there. So the screws are installed. They are Loctited into place. Are they going anywhere? Well, probably not. But we're not gonna take the risk, right? We're not gonna take the risk, especially on a car that's about to produce 800 horsepower. Who knows what frequency, what vibration this engine will be rotating at or will be giving off, and I'm just so nervous that these little screws might back out, and I just don't want to be the cause of anything going wrong with this engine, especially not just to make something pretty, right? So the last step is I have brought these valve covers to, as you can tell, Danny's shop. You aren't already familiar with the background, which you should be, and he's gonna give a little tack on each one of these screws just to make sure that it does not back out and it stays put. He's not gonna fuse all these pieces of metal together. It is still gonna be serviceable at the end of the day.
Yes, we're gonna use silicone bronze, a small little dot. We're just barely gonna do a dot. It's not gonna affect the powder coating. The powder coating can handle heat, but the small little dot on each one is gonna stop any chance of any thought. You go to sleep at night, and they're not going to just vibrate loose. Loctite, well, like I said, would work, but why take a chance? And later on, it is still serviceable. Later on, you want to remove them. You cut those little dots off, unscrew them, clean them, service them, and put them back on. So it's just a smart peace of mind. It actually looks pretty cool because they're little gold little dots from the silicone bronze.
Yeah, totally. What would you charge a customer walking in the door for something like this, for a little bit of welding? Like, what's like an hourly rate for welding?
$75 or something. Still the time, the argon.
Oh, absolutely.
It's still all the things, but
holy,
now
so worth it though. The peace of mind of one of these little screws not ending up down into
and a lot of people now, because of there's so many awesome TIG welders that are so cheap. A lot of people may already have that.
Oh yeah.
And you're using it for MIG weld, you're using it because they're versatile. You may already have the ability to do it there at home or one of your buds. I'm pretty sure someone you know has a TIG welder. It's not really hard. Like I said, if it's a regular, walk-in, it'd be the minimum charge is generally an hour.
Yep.
We try to get a little, if we know somebody, we'll cut it to half of that. But there you go.
But also it's just like, I feel like the point of this series of videos is everyone's just like, oh, powder coat your valve covers. But no one really knows like all the work that goes into getting that actually done. So I think now people are sort of starting to understand why it costs so much to powder coat your valve cover. So, all right, now we're going to install the valve cover gasket set. Ta-da! Gorgeous. Gaskets installed. Now before we install, I'm going to start by cleaning up this gasket sealing surface. Just making sure that there's nothing that's going to harm the seal at all or prevent a good seal from being made, obviously, because we don't want anything to go down into where the spark plugs are and cause any misfires, or obviously coming out this way and getting down onto our hot exhaust manifold and then potentially catching on fire. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this right now. You can also see that there is some form-in-place gasket left over from the last time that these valve covers were installed, and that is awesome. Someone definitely did this correctly. This is where I'm going to be installing some form-in-place gasket right here on these little 90-degree angles. So one there, 3, and 4. All right, so let's get to cleaning up these as well. Just put a nice, healthy dollop in each little 90-degree corner. Now let's get these things installed. Now we've got the 4 nuts. I'm gonna make sure to put my little washers on first.
There's 2 in the front, and there's 2 in the back.
Then these 4 ugly bolts are going on the inside, and these fancy purple ones on the outside. Now, starting from the inside and working your way out, I'm gonna run all these down by hand first. Nice, and now we're gonna torque everything to specification. So the torque spec for this is 74 inch-pounds. And check out this neat little torque wrench. It's from Klein Tools. Like it's inch-pounds, right? So it's dainty, but it's for 3/8 inch drive, which I think is sick. Sweet! And then for the last part of this video,
Let's get these guys installed.
and here's my nifty little AN wrench. Now, and this is adjustable, isn't that cool? And because there's a coating, a finish on those, I like to put some painter's tape just so I don't damage the coating. So there's the final look for now. Sheesh! You can probably tell that that center cover is not all the way installed. I don't have the bolts in there just yet, and that's because the customer is actually going to swap this one out for a carbon fiber one, which is going to look even more incredible. So stoked for that. But this is the current look. This is what we're working with right now, and I think it looks absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that this helped you realize how much work truly goes into powder coating your valve covers correctly. So, hopefully I didn't de-influence you if this is something that you really want to do. But one thing that I learned from Rick recently when he was painting the engine bay of this car was that, you know, paint technology has come a long way. And in many, many cases, you can find a top quality paint that is as rugged and as tough as powder coating. But, you know, then you might get a different finish, you might not get the match or whatever. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!